All right, welcome. Today, we're going to unpack a really crucial question in higher education. How do you convince the people holding the purse strings to invest in cybersecurity before a disaster strikes? We're going to walk through a strategic playbook for protecting what is, for a university, its most valuable assets.
Okay, so let's just start with a basic question. When you think of a huge university, what do you imagine is its single greatest risk?
Well, is it a bad grade? A student failing a class? Nope, not even close.
Okay, what about a totally disastrous football season that disappoints thousands of alumni? I mean, that's painful for sure, but still not the biggest threat.
The biggest risk a university faces today. It all comes down to this: a single, malicious click that opens the floodgates to a devastating cyber attack.
Okay, so let's really dive into this because a modern university is just a treasure trove of sensitive data. I mean, we're talking about the personal information of thousands of students. You've got all the financial aid and tuition data, that's the very lifeblood of the institution. And, maybe most importantly, you've got priceless research and intellectual property that could be worth millions, even billions. And all of that, the whole shebang, is held together by the university's reputation and the trust of its community.
So, to protect all of that, we're going to explore a pretty simple three-part strategy. We'll look at how to find the gaps, how to build securely right from the start, and then how to prepare for a crisis. And after all that, we'll see the massive payoff of taking this proactive approach. All right, let's jump right into our first strategy. It all starts with knowing where your weaknesses are before an attacker finds them for you. This is really the art of proactive assessment. And here's the best way to think about it. You would never, ever wait for a campus library to just collapse before you checked its structural integrity, right? Well, a security assessment is the exact same idea, just for your digital campus. It's all about finding those little cracks in the foundation before they lead to a catastrophic failure.
And this is so important. This isn't just a tech problem. It is a business problem. A breach can lead to massive fines for violating regulations. Or imagine this: a ransomware attack freezes student registration right before a semester starts. That directly shuts off your revenue stream. And the reputational damage? That can hurt enrollment and fundraising for years and years.
And this brings us to this really key idea called demonstrable due care. Now, this isn't just about having some fancy security tools. It's about having documented proof for auditors, for regulators, for your insurance company that you are actively and intelligently managing your risk. It's the proof that you've actually done your homework.
All right, so once you know where your weaknesses are, the next logical step is to stop creating new ones, right? Strategy 2 is all about building security into new projects and applications from the very beginning, from day one.
Think of this as creating a digital building code for the university. I mean, for any new building on campus, you follow these super strict codes to make sure it's safe and high quality. The same logic has to apply when you're developing a new student portal or a research database. You build it securely from the ground up instead of scrambling to patch it later. And here's why that matters so much. Finding and fixing a security flaw in a finished product is exponentially more expensive and time-consuming than just designing it securely in the first place. This proactive shift-left approach, it saves a ton of money and prevents really painful project delays. So, what does this digital building code actually look like in practice? Well, it's a life cycle. It starts with designing the application with security baked in from the very first blueprint. Then, your developers follow secure coding practices. After that, the app is just rigorously tested for any and all flaws. And only after it passes those tests, only then is it deployed with confidence. Now look, let's be real. Even with the best assessments and the most secure applications, a really determined attacker might still get through. And that brings us to our final strategy, being prepared for that moment of crisis. And this one everyone gets. It's the business equivalent of a fire drill. You'd never wait for a real fire to test your evacuation plan for the very first time, would you? A crisis readiness exercise, what we call a tabletop exercise, is just that. It's practicing your response to major cyber attack in a safe, simulated environment. Because if you don't practice, this is pretty much exactly what happens. The first hour after an incident hits, it's just confusion and chaos. By hour 8, critical systems are down, the response is completely ad hoc, and you're wasting valuable resources. A couple days in, there's still no clear timeline for recovery, and the financial losses are just piling up. And by the end of the week, trust is broken. The reputational damage is severe.
But now, just look at the difference when you're prepared. An incident that could have caused a full week of downtime is cut down to just a day or two. Sky-high emergency response costs are replaced with a controlled, planned budget. And most importantly, because you're communicating effectively from a tested plan, stakeholder trust is actually maintained, not destroyed. The ROI here is measured in every single day of chaos you avoid.
So let's tie all of this together. The real payoff here comes from making a fundamental shift in mindset, moving away from panicked, reactive spending and toward deliberate, strategic investment in security. Ultimately, it really just comes down to a choice between two paths. On one hand, you've got the reactive path. It's driven by crisis, it leads to higher costs, reputational damage, and just inefficiency. But on the other hand, you have the strategic path. It's all about planned investment, which reduces risk, avoids costs, builds confidence, and uses your resources in a smart, efficient way. The choice seems pretty clear, doesn't it?
And that leaves us with one final and, I think, really powerful thought. Every single institution, whether it's a university or a business, has to ask itself this question. When it comes to protecting the data, the revenue, and the reputation that matter most, is your security foundation built on solid rock, or is it built on sand, just waiting for the next storm?